I think he's just trying to make some money off of it. He's already gotten about $5,000 from people.
All right, Mayor, we should be live.
Guess we need to wait 2 minutes.
Something like that goes by. And people are like, oh, might as well make some money.
All people lined up to watch it.
Have a lot of sold out.
Charged admission fees to work. Two people watch.
You do a YouTube live? Really?
Public meeting. It's been a process.
So does it retain on YouTube?
Yep. We have our own page.
Say cheese, Trey.
You told me last time that you don't want to sit with somebody to see your phone.
Say cheese.
You need one of these ones? Did y'all get a handout? You get one done?
Can't have mine.
I'll bring it back, sorry.
Hey, remind to ask about Gail about the minutes. Margaret was.
Yeah, I need to get some documents from you too, right?
Resolution.
Minutes
minute.
from the award, is that right?
Is that the resolution of the award?
Well,
No, I was talking about, you need a copy of that.
no, not for today, it's when we awarded the contract,
Oh, there.
contract A and contract B the other
You
night.
got some documents from you.
All right, I got 11:30. We'll call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the authorization and adoption of resolution pledging full faith and credit funding for USDA sewer improvements.
And first of all, Mayor, I appreciate everybody being able to come on short order. We had a conference call with USDA, who is one of the funding entities for our sewer project. If you recall, at the last meeting, we awarded a contract A and a contract B, both for the interceptor pipe feeding Town Branch, and then another award for actual plant work at Bell Creek and Town Branch. So this project is funded, you know, all across the board, different entities. We talked about GFA last time. We know USDA is in the game. Well, the conference call with USDA is they have to receive certain documents from Trey, the bid tabulation and other things before they'll sign off on the project and it can move forward. The hurdle that we ran into on the call was that USDA wants to see a contingency above and beyond the contract amount that the bid came in. And Trey has provided you kind of with a synopsis of the number. So the number we talked about at the last council meeting was the $2.8 million deficit, and we said we were going to go out to GFA for that. Remember, part of that $1 million was going to be forgivable. Trey's even told me as early as yesterday that there's an additional $100,000 of forgivable money from GFA. So that number looks even better than it did last time. But because the GFA board does not meet until May, they meet quarterly, I don't have the official sign off on that financial piece to provide USDA right now for them to buy off on it. Meaning they want to see something executed from GFA because the bid amount on the contract exceeded the amount of USDA funds. Does that make sense? So USDA, let's say they got $5 in it, but we put out a bid at $7. They want to be able to prove that the city can cover that too. We know internally we're going to cover that with GFA funds, but USDA won't buy off on that fact because their board hasn't met. I don't have the official documentation to provide to USDA. So what we went through on the conference call, we talked about interim financing, line of credit with different banks, but we thought the easiest thing to get this thing moving would be a full faith and credit pledge or resolution from the city council. So the 2.8 million that we're borrowing from GFA is a little bit different than the full faith and credit pledge you see in the resolution before you. And how we get to the differential is kind of built into the synopsis that Trey handed out. So like I said, when we put the project out to bid, we knew we got about a $2.8 million deficit. But in the actual bid, Trey had factored in a certain amount of contingency. USDA doesn't consider the built-in contingency. They want to see a 5% on top of the contract amount. So the full faith and credit pledge of the city would be to cover an additional 5% on top, which is equivalent of the $3,164,000. For round numbers, we put it in 3.2. It's not my anticipation for the city, to levy a tax mill to cover that or to go up on rates to cover that. The intention is to utilize GFA funds to subsidize the overage. I just can't document that to USDA right now so that they'll sign off on it. And there is some immediacy necessary to get this done because our contractor put in his bid. They're already seeing prices starting to escalate in terms of pipe prices due to what's going on in Texas and everything like that. So we want to get him lined up, officially awarded, but to do that I have to have USDA to buy off on the project. To get USDA to buy off on the project, I have to substantiate the difference in their funding and the contract amount. I can't provide that through GFA because the board hadn't met. So what I'm asking for council to do is to authorize a resolution pledging the full faith and credit of the city in the amount of 3.2 million that I can provide to USDA so that they will release our funds so that we can start the project. The city's anticipating cash flowing for the project until GFA hits. Lonnie, didn't we think we could cover that with sales tax? And then use GFA as a reimbursement to our sales tax account once it hits in May. Questions?
Well, what's the total commitment to the city once GFA hits?
2.8, the 2.8 number.
Well, dumb question, but what happens for some ungodly reason that GFA doesn't approve us and we've already committed the 3.2?
Then you're on the hook for it. But, my comfort level in that happening is based on my conversations with Trey and his historical, dealing with the entity that once it's made their docket, that if you've never seen one not get approved
It's
by
never happened.
Okay.
The money is designated both, and we're talking grant and loan dollars. So never has it happened once Congress has put the money in the kitty, so to speak, which has already happened. So the money's in-house with GFA for the grant and obviously the loan. You could borrow quite a lot of money as the city. So the loan's guaranteed.
So even our allocation of said bucket of money from Congress,
that's in-house at GFA now. So that is done usually September the year following when we apply, and we applied for this in February 2020. And so as of September, October, the money's in, and then they start the funding cycle. So
so they've pretty much already allocated it
absolutely
for us for
Yeah.
this particular project.
Yes, sir. It's true.
So we feel very good about.
There's always going to be some risk, but we feel confident enough to stand here. Is this going to hit?
When you say we're on the hook, I know it's unlikely, not going to happen. But what would we use? Sales tax funds?
It
or what
would
we
revert
do?
the loan if the grant piece didn't hit.
Well, and I would say that right now we're trying to show USDA that the money that we have, the money allocated, and to get them to release. I guess if we found that in May we did not get the money from GFA, we would back the scope back. If the city did not want to fund it directly, which we could do. I mean, it would be a drastic scope reduction.
You just change order to the contract.
That's right. Yeah, we'd have to change. I mean, if the craziest thing that we've ever heard happened,
Would allow us still to go back and reconsider. how
Yeah,
much-
we could change order scope out at that moment.
And I'm not being a Debbie Down, I'm just,
That's exactly what we're talking about here. I mean,
And the 3.2 million includes the 5% contingent.
that's right, that's the only change from the other 9.
so if you've already put it in your contingency, would theoretically, could it be less?
It should be, and that was our argument, but that's not what they want to
USDA,
That
Yeah,
was our argument too. We already got some in there.
we don't need contingency now, we're done bidding, we're ready to go to work.
so we're probably not gonna need this full amount.
No. This is just simply to get USDA, off the starting block.
Okay.
All right, so if all the dominoes fall in place, 2.8 million we're borrowing at what interest rate?
Well, we've got 1.1 of free money, so we'll get 1.1 million in grant. And the interest rate is just a little over 1%.
1.13, wasn't it?
Can't do
Yeah,
that.
1.13. No prepayment penalty. And Russell and I have some other strategies that are just too much, but we think we're gonna actually find a little more grant out of this whole deal. So not to belabor this with more detail for you, but that, we think there's still some money to be had here, so.
So we just need a motion.
Motion to authorize and execute the resolution.
We need a motion to authorize the adoption of this resolution.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Now, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussions? Hearing none, call for a vote.
Councilman Graham,
All right,
Councilman Middlebrooks,
Yes.
Councilman Reeves,
Yes.
Councilmember Head,
Yes.
Councilmember Tuttle.
Yes.
It's all business I have there.
All right. Does anybody have any other business? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor? Say aye.
Uh,